Last week we exposed the AliExpress flip. Scammers who buy cheap Chinese products and pretend that they're new inventions by trying to sell them on crowdfunding sites like Kickstarter. It was a story of laziness, greed and hilarity. But this week, the roles are reversed. Welcome back to Kickscammers. Welcome back to Kickscammers, the show where we look at criminal Kickstarters, incompetent Indiegogos and greedy GoFundMes. However, unlike the last video where we constantly looked at scammers that tried to scam you, this campaign owner did everything right. So, what's the angle here then? Hold up. This is quite a juicy story because this campaign owner spent years in R&D, built a legitimate prototype and had a genuine $1 million idea. And most importantly, unlike last week's episode, he didn't steal it from China. China stole it from him. This is the rise and brutal fall of the Stickbox. Let's do it. Back in 2015, Yaku tells Sherman wasn't just someone who I butchered the name of, he was an Israeli entrepreneur who spotted a gap in the market and, like all good inventors, created a unique but niche product and went to Kickstarter to try and sell it. Here's the campaign video. A quick Google search tells us that 2014 to 2015 was the perfect time to release a product like this. With the rise of front-facing cameras on smartphones, Time magazine put the selfie stick as one of the top 25 inventions of the year. The selfie stick became such a massive obsession for tourists that major venues like Disney had to put out bans of the device so not to ruin the experience for other guests. Regardless of your thoughts on selfie sticks, for the time, everybody had them, and at the same time, everybody hated carrying them around. The Stickbox was the solution. A smartphone case with a built-in collapsible aluminium selfie stick that folded perfectly into the back of the case. It was clever, it was sleek, it wasn't a stolen idea, and I suppose, most importantly, it was real. Sherman spent a whole year on this thing. He secured funding, he even worked out industrial design for the thing, and he set up a pretty polished Kickstarter too. As soon as the campaign went live, major tech blogs picked it up, and within days, he was halfway towards his goal. The entrepreneur from Israel had become the new poster child for Kickstarter success. That was until day 7. Exactly 1 week after his launch, Sherman was browsing AliExpress, the massive Chinese wholesale website, and yep, there it was. His product, not a similar concept, not a competitor, it was an identical copy of the Stickbox, using his own promotional photos, his own name and his own design. While Sherman was still trying to raise money on his Kickstarter campaign, a factory over in Shenzhen had looked at his campaign, reverse engineered it, mass produced it and were already sending it out to people that backed it. Well, no, sorry, bought it. The speed was terrifying. In the time it took Sherman to get a few hundred backers, the Chinese AliExpress ecosystem had already got this thing through manufacturing, and get this, they were selling it at 1/5 of the price. By this point, Sherman hadn't even produced a single unit, outside of his demo unit of course, and he was already getting undercut by his copycats. But then, if it couldn't get any worse, came the real nightmare, because product flipping, the stuff we talked about last week, had become so common that backers turned on him. They saw the $8 listing on AliExpress and even on sites like Groupon and assumed that Sherman was the scammer. They thought he had just found a Chinese product and trying to mark it up 500% on Kickstarter. Great, now the Stickbox is all over Teo Bayo. Think I'll buy it there faster. Only cost less than half of what I've paid. Sherman was stuck in a loop. He couldn't escape. He was the original creator. But because he was following the correct path of R&D and quality control, he was slower than the pirates, and let's be honest, to the average person online, whoever released the product first was seen as the original inventor. What didn't help matters was that the campaign owner, as unfortunate as he was in this instance, was terrible at communication. And because there was practically no communication and everyone thought that he stole this thing, not only did they think he stole this thing, but because that product was already out there and they weren't getting it, they thought, hang on, has he just taken my money and run for the hills? For the right sort of person on paper, this was a good product. Heck, you could even go as far as saying that a lot of armchair investors were annoyed that they didn't think of it first. At this point in time, what you have got here is $1 million idea. But here is what that fictional armchair inventor doesn't get. Sherman's design may look simple, but it was anything but. Sherman's design was actually quite complicated. It involved multiple sliding aluminium tracks and a hinge that had to be strong enough to hold a heavy iPhone 6, plus all of its spin-offs without snapping. The $8 Chinese version didn't care about any of that. They used cheap brittle plastic and reportedly had loose tolerances. But a Kickstarter backer doesn't know about any of this at the time. They just see two identical photos and two very different prices. Sherman did eventually hit his goal, raising just under $35,000, but the damage was done. The brand of Stickbox was already associated with cheap Chinese junk before the real ones even left the factory. The bad press, the bad communication, the lack of updates, this all led to, let's be frank, a pretty pitiful amount of money that this campaign earned. And again, I believe this should have been $1 million idea. Also, one of the annoying things about making bespoke items for specific phones is that they're only relevant for about 2 years at a push. Once again, Sherman had already taken so long with releasing this product that by the time it was ready to ship out, the majority of his backers were asking for refunds. It was completely useless to them. On top of that, I'm guessing due to the amount that was raised, a lot of the backers, looking at the comment section, never got one at all. And those that did left scathing reviews in the comment section. YouTube reviewers are a little kinder, but honestly, I don't really know if I'm looking at a knockoff or the original product. Heck, at this rate, you gotta wonder if the cheapest option would be just to send the product from China who stole it from you in the first place. But look, let's get legal here. I don't know that for sure. I'm just theorizing, I'm just speculating. All I'm saying is that every single video and picture I've ever seen all look exactly the same. If you go looking at the Stickbox Kickstarter page today, it's an absolute graveyard. Years after the project ended, people are still commenting. Never received this, please refund. I'm invoking my rights under Kickstarter's terms of use. What a fraud, horrible human being. Never received anything, another terrible Kickstarter project that went wrong. I want my money back, shameless people. You'll get what you've done with karma. Sherman's company Stickbox Limited struggled through lawsuits and manufacturing hell before eventually fading into obscurity. The website is gone, the social media has been wiped. He was a victim of his own success by showing the world exactly how his product worked before he was ready to ship it. He gave the blueprints for $1 million business idea. The Stickbox story should serve as a warning for people out there, because Kickstarter isn't just a place for inventors, it's also a menu for Chinese factories. If your product is easy to copy and you haven't already secured your supply chain, you aren't launching a business, you're just doing free market research for someone else. Sherman didn't steal from China, but in the end, it didn't matter. Sure, he does deserve some of the blame, but they did take his idea and they ran with it, leaving him with a reputation where it's unlikely he will ever get the chance to do something like this ever again. And there you have it, guys, another Kickscammer episode for all of you people and all of these people down here. All of these names allow me to make these videos every week, so thank you all so much for checking out this video, with an extra big shout out going to Andrew Dalton, Bram Perez, British Video Game Nerd, Chevmatic, Chris aka Brackman, Conrad Constantine, Action Saxon, Dina, Insidious Bliss, Jay is Manchild, Jabba Al Aiden, Jeff Mianowski, John Yeskatus, I always get it wrong, John Yeskatus, Keiju Samurai 1985, Livestream, Mass Replay, Mike Fallon, Nicholas Bertler, Paul Float, Retro to Next Gen aka Lou, Richard Alderjick, Robert Ramsey, Ryan Burford, Shadow Dragon Swift, Justice Peterson, The Sneaky Ferret, Vitas Varnes, Yelled Hamburglar, Livestream, Paisley Simpson, Thomas Coyote Baxter, Dina81, Kematura, Villarreal, Derrikuda, Enraged Gecko, Akatimo84, Ian Quell, Arista, and Mind of the Unsane, and XZX. Thank you all so much for your support. Really appreciate it, guys. And yeah, until next time, DJ Slope signing out, and hopefully I'll see you all next time. Bye bye.